specimens are the mission. The specimens are the mission. Period.
Okay, come on. That forensics Agatha Christie this shit.
Well, I disagree because I wanna Agatha Christie this shit right now. Maybe I'm not a forensic scientist, but I'm your geek detective host, and I want to deep dive into episodes 1 and 2 of Alien Earth, but it's not gonna be a recap or retelling of the story. I just want to present to you some of the versions that I have about what happened on the Maginot ship, what led to this disaster, how all of those monsters, aliens got out. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, we're gonna know eventually. Anyway, hopefully this video is gonna be interesting for you, so let's dive in. And I wanna start from ground zero, just as, you know, the rescue team. We're gonna start from the moment we get some first clues, and we are in the room where we have some casualties. We have this guy, we have, you know, the same room in the very first shots of the episode, of episode 1. We can see that this is the same room, this is the same guy laying on the table. Regabi here was trying to do some kind of operation on him, and this is obviously not a xenomorph, this is obviously not an alien, this is something else, one of those other aliens, because our guy bursts through the chest, so it's gonna be an explosion, and here we have a precision operation, so it's probably something else. We have another one is dead here, so we have seen him here also in this moment. We just barely see him, but he's there. And another interesting moment is that Regabi here is laying in a different pose and in a different location that we have seen her here. So from this moment until this moment, something happened, something attacked Regabi and made her look even worse than she looked in the previous shot. Whatever it is, I think it's the thingy with the eyes, because it has some kind of a toxin that made her look blue, because it's also, look at this one looks like a dry tomato, so it was probably attacked by those worms that suck your blood, and this is what happens eventually. And we can see that Regabi here looks different. She looks better, doesn't look amazing, but she looks better than this one. So she was probably attacked by something else, and it's not xenomorph and it's not something else, so it's probably the guy with the eyeballs. Anyway, moving forward, let's look for the, you know, the gastro testing. I did this kind of thing 3 times because I have some kind of a stomach issues. So yeah, I have Vietnam flashbacks here. Anyway, usually this image is kind of clean, and here we see some kind of weird thingy going through his whatever it's called, and on this we also see very tiny worms. They look like those worms, they look like those but smaller, so maybe they, you know, like they become a host in a human body, and there they grow up to become something bigger like this. They use some kind of a web here, as you can see, and they use this web to attack their targets. So as you can see here, they're like way bigger, they're like the size of my finger, and we have seen, you know, it's not something that it's inside of a body. Anyway, maybe they escaped from this place, like this capsule here, or it's just, you know, my imagination, and we have seen them eating a lot of blood, and they become looking like this, like some kind of a, you know, fucked up chicken here. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't look very operational and an effective form for you to become after you ate something. And unless this thing is gonna go to a toilet at some point, maybe it will evolve to something else, because right now this is so easy to kill that this species probably wouldn't survive. So maybe this one, we still haven't seen this one on the outside, by the way, only in the, you know, in the cameras, and we have seen that this thing has wings. So it kind of makes you think about, you know, butterflies and, you know, blah blah blah, all this transformation. So maybe these worms, they are eating a lot of blood, and after that they become something like this, or it's just another completely different species of an alien. So we are moving to the second room. Okay, the second room where we have some victims, and here we have the one with its chest blown up from the inside and something living. So probably young xenomorph, you know, this is what happened there. Face hugger, kissed it, and that's it. After that we have a xenomorph. Here we have, you know, the face hugger laying, so it's probably they are connected, but we have another victim here. Think about it, we have only one xenomorph so far, as we have seen in the first 2 episodes, but we have 2 victims. But this one, her chest is not exploded, something in her stomach area. So it's not a xenomorph, so it's not our usual suspect, it's something else. And once again, I'm thinking about those, worms that are basically going through your digestion system, and this is a place where you have maybe something that is connected to digestive systems. So maybe, especially since we have seen those worms eating on the dead body of a rat, and here, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is something completely else, but it kind of looks like a rat that was exploded like something else from the inside. So maybe if those worms can do something like this, maybe if they bite you, they actually not only suck in your blood, they're actually, ingesting you with some smaller worms that grow up inside your body. Whether you're dead or alive doesn't really matter. And this brings me to my first version, the first suspect. This is the 10 guy. Everybody thinks he's a synthetic, he's an android. I'm not so sure about it. I was thinking the same like you, but right now I have some ideas, something else. So he was creeping, on top of this girl like some kind of a weirdo, looking at her while she's sleeping. This is supposed to be, like a violation of privacy. You should put people in jail for something like this. And we can see that he's like looking at her, and he's like even with his hand like, oh my god, I want to touch her. Maybe not her. Maybe he was looking not at her. He was waiting for something that he put inside of her to actually burst out and, like, hey, my experiment worked or some shit like this. Maybe. And as I told you, he's an android. Everybody thinks so because, like, when he was asked, like, how long do we have until Earth? He's like, 10 million seconds, whatever. So, yeah, kind of weird. Kind of sounds robotic. And it also follows the same trope as the first movie, which is obviously heavily referenced in this TV show, where Ash was the one responsible for Xenomorph actually going on the ship because Ripley didn't want to let them in, and you know the rest. I'm not gonna spoil you anything more if you haven't seen the movie. So it kind of makes sense, like the same thing happened here. You remember the original movie? This is exactly like that, but maybe not, because here, when they are saying basically he's not gonna watch you anymore, is because Morrow talked to him, and Morrow saying to him he's not gonna be a problem unless he wants to work 65 years for no pay. Which is kind of weird for me. Once again, I'm not an expert in this universe. I don't know what, usually androids do for a living, if they need something for a living. But I kind of assume that they basically like a tool that it's created for companies' needs. It's been, created, and that's it. You don't work, you don't get a pay, you just do whatever your master tells you to do. Sort of a slave, if you may call it like that. So 65 years with no pay, maybe just a little bit weird. Why would an android care about getting paid? But maybe. Anyway, maybe. The second argument I have for him not being actually an android is, if you remember Timothy Oliphant character saying to the kids, to the Lost Boys, fear is for animals. You are not an animal, and I don't know what is going on here. Maybe he's trying to warm his vocal cords and he wants to sing us a song, but something tells me he is terrified. And if he's terrified, it means he's an animal. Unless there is a contradiction here between, in the script, which is always a possibility, but let's assume there is no contradictions, and let's assume they didn't make a mistake here. He is freaking terrified. And if fear is for animals, then he is a freaking animal. He's a human being. So maybe he's just weird. Maybe his mom and dad didn't teach him how to talk to girls, and he's just, just a creep. That's it. And it brings me to my second version, who's to blame. Because in this moment when Captain is saying comms are down, looks like the log files are corrupted. Somebody corrupted the log files. They probably didn't corrupt themselves. Okay, they're not politicians, they don't do that. So somebody did something, and as soon as this guy with the mustache saying, I can have a look, maybe I can check, Morrow is very quick and short to answer no. He's cutting him off. He's not thinking about it, he's like, no. It almost feels like he's also afraid of something. Maybe he doesn't want them to discover something. Maybe he is the reason why comms are down and the log files are corrupted. Also here he's saying security will investigate, and at this moment, one of the flashbacks, we can see him pointing a gun at somebody. Like we have seen him basically sacrificing all of the team, and he is basically probably shooting somebody. If you remember in episode 2, when the security, when the, like the rescue team, they found one of the bodies and they're saying that he was shot twice in the chest and once in the head, which is a very effective way of killing somebody with a gun. Okay, and here we're seeing him pointing the gun at somebody. Xenomorph is right behind him. They didn't spend probably a lot of money for this scene to show us just, millisecond of it. So probably something we're gonna see in the next episodes, but he shot somebody. But if you look at his face, it doesn't strike me as a face of somebody who has a grandiose plan of sacrificing all of the team and basically, making a test of some sort. It also kind of works against motivation of the company that wants to bring all of those species into their lab. And they, investigate and research them. And, actually crashing on an enemy territory is not an exactly great corporate strategy, especially after you spend 65 years into bringing all of those specimens into Earth. Kind of weird. So if he's looking scared, a little bit worried at somebody, who may it be? Who can scare Morrow? We have seen him basically not being even afraid of the Xenomorph when he has weapons, at least. And I want to present to you suspect number 3, which is, in my opinion, the most interesting one, probably the less likely to happen, but this is the craziest one, and I would love if this is the case. So let's talk to our eyeball thingy, whatever you want to call him. He has a name already, but let's call him eyeball thingy. It's, I think, way better and easier to remember. So eyeball thingy is looking at Ragabi. He's checking her out. He's learning her. He's learning what she is doing. We have seen him also looking at the Xenomorph, and we have seen him also looking at one of our lost boys, lost girl at this case. So if you can see here and here and here, it's a little bit different, but it's a stretch. It's still a stretch. It's a little bit stretch, but it kind of makes me think that here he was looking at Ragabi in his usual form. Here he was looking at one of the lost boys in his usual form. We have seen this as proof. And here he's looking at Xenomorph from a body he occupies already. We know that he can occupy a body. We have seen here, for example, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but if you look at the color here, it kind of looks like a human skin. It doesn't look like a cat. So he was probably already embodying somebody from the crew, like he did with the cat here. And we have seen him, leaving the cat as soon as he's found a new host. He can use like some kind of a slings, just like Spider-Man, and he's attacking it. And I just wanted to share with you this text. Okay, so I made it clearer and I just want to read it to you. So, given the tentative trypanohemic, there is no word like that, classification of Trypanohemca Ocelus, this is his name. Now you understand why I call him eyeball thingy. The organism has a smooth scolex that features several ocular lenses and a tentacle system that can grow or retract at will. We have seen this. The tentacles carry extraordinary strength and are built to climb into and relocate the eyes of other living organisms. We have seen this with a cat. Once replaced in the eye socket, T. ocelus takes over the ocular pathways to the brain, overseeing the neurotransmissions throughout the body. Overseeing neuron transmissions means it controls the body completely, 100%. Thoughts, movements, muscles, everything. You're basically a puppet of this thing. You lose your consciousness, everything. You're not nothing anymore. Your body is just a puppet for this thingy. It replaces your brain completely, 100%. So, more study is needed to gauge emergent intelligence, though T. ocelus has shown remarkable problem-solving skills at a near-human measure. A complete surprise, species 64 has been given the tentative taxonomic classification of Trypanohemca ocelus. Problem-solving skills at the level, or almost at the level, of a human being is a very high level of intelligence. Our eyeball thingy probably is motivated not only by its instincts, but also, thoughts, plans, maybe even emotions. And keep in mind that the research they did on the ship not necessarily given them the clearest picture of all. It could easily, if it's smart enough, portray itself less smart than human being to lower their guard, meanwhile planning how to escape. If you talk about, excellent problem solving skills, being trapped in a ship in the space that takes you from your home to some different planet where you're probably gonna be, taken to some lab where people are gonna cut you and slice you in every possible form is a freaking problem. And if you want to solve it, you should probably find a way to escape. And I really hope that my version is correct and this thing was the one responsible for everyone escaping. Because as you see here, the Flora fauna thingy, I don't have a name for it, let's call it the killer flower. If you look at this flashback scene, we are seeing some kind of a figure of somebody living it. And it's just weird the way it lives. Now it can be the boy trillionaire, whatever, he's trying to be, like, oh, I'm so, over the top with everything I do, and I'm dancing every time I'm seeing some alien form of life, or maybe this shit is being controlled by our eyeball thingy, and this is it, this is the way it moves. So, once again, something for you to think about. So let's talk about the flora fauna. Okay, it's obviously very dangerous too. We know that this is an alien thing. So it presents itself as a flora. It looks like a flower of some sort, maybe something else, but maybe fauna. It's definitely fauna because I don't see any legs, but it still somehow managed to move here. Or maybe it was moved by something that was controlled by the eyeball thingy. Or, just it freaking moves, whatever it is. And as we can see here, he's trying to attack, but maybe once again it's sensing that this is not a living and breathing creature. This is a synthetic creature. It doesn't have red blood inside of it, because this thing likes red blood. We are seeing once again one of the flashbacks. At least one victim we have on the account of this flora, fauna, whatever. I need to think about a name for this shit. Killer flower, I said it already, it's a killer flower. So what else is interesting I want to talk to you about? Okay, it's not exactly a version about what happened, but it's a bit weird. The camera focuses on, on 0051, and we have, the xenomorph egg, basically, the face hugger is inside. It is shown to us again in the second sequence, when we already seen everything that it's happening in the ship and the xenomorph killing everybody, it's still there. But when we get to the end of episode 2, we are seeing that it's 0051 is freaking empty. So who took it and put it here in the room with everybody else? We have like 6x here because the xenomorph wants to hang out. So two possible explanations. It's either Morrow, he was super effective, the ship crashed and he was like, yeah, let's carry the eggs, put them all in the different room, yay yay. Or it was Xenomorph, because we have seen them, they're not completely stupid, driven only by, desire to kill or hunger. We know they want to take human beings and basically cover them in goo and take them to the queen, to the mother, whatever it is. And here in this TV show, meanwhile he's rampaging and just killing everybody. But if it's him, he took the eggs here to put them in a place where it will be better for them. But there's also the blue light. Now, I'm not an expert on this universe, but a friend of mine, maybe you know his videos, he has a channel called Gaze for You. I tease him about this a little bit because it sounds like something else, but he is a very good expert in this universe, okay? And he said in his video that the blue light, it was used in one of the video games as something to create like an atmosphere for the eggs, for them not to hatch and to survive as long as possible, because they hatch as soon as they feel a living creature next to them, and then, the face hugger will basically attack you from it, and, in order to create a xenomorph. And here this blue light, it was emphasized, okay? We are seeing the camera basically showing to us like the blue light is touching our heroes, and here is the blue light is being turned on and turned off. So I have two different versions, and both of them not working for me 100%. So if it's Morrow, it makes sense that he would be the one to turn on the light and turn off the light. I don't know why it would have a timer or something like this. It makes sense, but once again, doesn't really make enough sense for him to go ahead and run with all the eggs, and like, he doesn't have enough time. There is a crash, and basically a couple of minutes later you have already a lot of rescue teams inside of the ship trying to save you, and he was there, running with the eggs. Something time-wise not working for me. Xenomorph makes sense. He had more than enough time while the ship was falling to carry the, the eggs, and even after it fell, carry the eggs there. But then again, I cannot imagine myself as xenomorph going like, you know, oh, so blue light here, oh, blah, 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 computer, let's work some blue light. So both of those versions not working for me. Probably the more likely one, it was Morrow, but then again, you need to, you know, turn on your suspension of disbelief and actually believe that he was able to do this in a very short time. So there's also a very boring version of them basically, you know, like an incident. He's saying to Tank like what system we can shut down. Maybe they went and shut down some systems that they weren't supposed to shut down, and it actually led to, you know, ship crashing and everybody getting out. It's boring, and I really hope this is not the case. And the last thing I want to tell you is, if you have seen it, probably not, because I've seen a lot of reviews and I didn't see even one mentioning this. Maybe I missed it, maybe I'm not the first, you know, I'm super first. But at this moment, in the first room that we talked about, there is something moving, and this something doesn't look like anything we discussed in this video. It's way too big for, you know, for the eyeball thingy, or for the blood-sucking worms, or even when they become with wings or something like this. And it's way too small for being a xenomorph. Even maybe his tail, but it also feels like a little bit like a stretch. Maybe it's his tail. Or maybe it's something completely else that we will discover in the future episodes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. I didn't make videos for a month and a half. I was overloaded with work and family. I have a small child and I had some debt, and I had to work like a lot of hours to get out of the debt, but it shouldn't really concern you, okay? And the reason why I'm talking about this is because during this month and a half, there were still a lot of people supporting me on Patreon and here on YouTube, and I can express to you how much I appreciate this. This is not something that I can expect for you, okay? I actually, even more than that, I'm supposed to expect you to cancel your subscription if your blogger, the one that you're supporting, for a month and a half not releasing the videos. Some people cancel, yeah, completely understandable. Probably in your place I would do the same, but many more stayed with me. And this was always here, okay? Every time I was doing my like 14 hours shift a day, working my ass off, you know, or every time I was like with my baby trying to make him go to sleep or something else, there was always this thought: there are people that trust you, that put their trust in you. Don't disappoint them. You have to come back, and you have to come back strong. And this is exactly what I hope to do. I prepared for you a lot of more videos about DeAlien, From, maybe something on Severance, maybe something even more interesting, like, you know, different psychological things that can explain some interesting ideas that we have about our favorite TV shows. But I don't want to disappoint you. I have this motivation and I have this responsibility thanks to you. Now, saying all that, I don't want to make anybody who just watches my video to feel that I'm somehow treating them less. Everybody gets 100%. The biggest support anyone can show me is just by watching my videos. Everything else is just a very nice bonus. It's just like with an energy, you know, like with the concert. Somebody gives you something, you want to give back. Somebody watches my video, I want to give back. Somebody goes the extra mile and supports it, you know, in Patreon and in YouTube, whatever it is. It kind of gives you more, you understand? But it still doesn't take anything from everybody else. And I also know everybody has their own life situation. Not everybody can, you know, support for $2 or $5 or $10. And for somebody it sounds like a joke, but yeah, there are people that for them this is another 120 or 60 bucks a year that they could put on something else. So yeah, I completely understand, and I would never expect for somebody to support me on Patreon and YouTube and I would be like, yo, don't give me money or some shit like this. Just watch my videos, try to enjoy them. If you don't enjoy them, let me know, how can I improve? And there's absolutely nothing more that I can do here. So thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Meanwhile, bye.